Hi Beauty Pies, welcome back to my channel. Spring is finally here, so I thought I would do a makeup look with a pop of a spring color, which is what I'm wearing right now. Yes, I know we are still masking. However, this is a liquid lipstick that I'm using on my lips, and I promise you it will stay on all day, regardless of how long you have your mask on. I don't prefer to use a liquid lipstick on a day-to-day basis. I do find that they are drying. But right now, while we're still wearing masks, they are the best type of lipstick to wear just because they stay on all day. Especially the brand that I use. Out of all the ones that I have tried, the one that I'm using is the longest wearing and the most comfortable. Because if it's not comfortable, then it's like, I can't. I'm also using a long wear foundation. It's not my foundation of choice, simply because a long wear foundation tends to be more drying on your skin. I have dry skin. I don't really want to make it feel more dry. However, right now, for two main reasons, a long wear foundation works for me. And that is one, because I'm pregnant, so I'm producing a lot of extra oil on my skin, and so I tend to get really oily throughout the day when I use my favorite foundations like the Sheer Glow foundation or even like the Rare Beauty foundation. I don't really touch up my makeup throughout the day. If anything, I'll take a Kleenex or a soft tissue and just blot off the extra oil. But I find that I'm producing a whole lot where even just blotting it is not getting rid of the oil. But when I wear this long wear foundation, my skin is not looking as oily. So if you would like to see my long wear foundation and liquid lipstick of choice, please keep watching. So I'm going to start off by priming my face using the Glossier Priming Rich Moisturizer. I've used this before. It is a really thick emollient cream, and I like using this as a primer, which is what they've kind of made it for. It has a very strong scent of lavender. I do think that this lends a really nice shine to the skin underneath the makeup. I'm using a long wear foundation by Mercier, and that foundation tends to be drying, much like any long wear foundation. So that's why I wanted to have something that was very moisturizing, moisture rich, and comfortable on the skin underneath that foundation. It's also going to help blend out the foundation better because typically a long wear foundation is not as creamy. As I mentioned, I'm using this Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion Ultra Wear Long Wear Foundation. I'm in the color 5W1 Amber. I have used this in a tutorial before. It was in my go-to glam for 2020. The only reason I don't use it more often is because, as I said, it's a drying foundation. I don't usually blot or powder throughout the day. If anything, I will take like a tissue, like a Kleenex, a soft tissue, or soft toilet paper and just blot my skin. But what I found is if I use this foundation, this long wear foundation, instead of my NARS Sheer Glow, which is the one that I use every day, I don't have that problem. I don't have as much oil on my face. For someone like me with dry skin, it's not something that I would use year round. Out of breath. I do work indoors in an air-conditioned environment, but in Florida it's so hot. I have a 40-minute drive to work, and even if you have the AC on high and you've cooled yourself down as much as possible, you still get hot. And whether you're just walking from your car to your office, wherever you are, it gets warm and your makeup gets oily. My eyebrows are already done. Finally, gotten them back into shape. My last video, I think they were a little crazy. I do my own eyebrows. I do a combination of threading and tweezing my brows, and that's how I get them done. And it takes me a while to shape. If you want to see how I do my brows, I will link my brow routine here in a card. This foundation is slightly too dark for me. I could not find my perfect match in this foundation, so I have to make sure that I use a lot of this on my neck in order to make sure my face matches my neck. If the foundation I'm using is a pretty good match for my skin, which is really only one foundation that does that, still do put foundation on my neck, but I don't have to put as much on my neck as I put on my face because I don't need as much coverage on my neck. Well, I do, I guess. I do have lines on my neck. I just choose not to fully cover them. With this foundation, whenever I use it, I make sure I carry enough on my neck. Otherwise, you will see the color difference, a visible color difference. Next, I'm using my Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin Concealer. I'm in the color 4.1. Well, I'm using the color 4.1. This is about 2 shades lighter than my foundation, and I usually use a concealer that's 1 shade lighter. I bought it thinking it was just a shade lighter, but when I tried it on, it's It's a couple shades lighter and I love it. The color does not look odd against my skin, which is what happens when I usually go too light on a concealer. You see it just blends in really nicely and the coverage is so good. I'm so surprised because I feel like I haven't used concealer that gives me this much coverage and blends out so quickly. And I thought maybe my under eyes are just looking better, but I don't think that's the case. I still have dark circles, not been sleeping as well as I normally do. I'm 7 months pregnant now, and that means I toss and turn a lot. So it's definitely the concealer. If you tend to crease underneath your eye, I would put a setting powder on underneath your eye right away. And this concealer does not give me any issues with creasing. So I'm gonna go in with my cream contour. I prefer to do my powders after I'm done with my liquids and creams. Since this foundation is a tad too dark for me, I wanted to go in with the lightest contour product that I have. This is the WetnWild contour stick. I love this. There are only 2 or 3 shades that they have, and this is one of them. This is called Where's Walnut. If you don't find it at your store, at your local drugstore, you just probably have to hop around to different stores to find it, because not every drugstore has the same set of colors. It's just the way it glides on, it's so easy to blend out, and the coverage, like it's just the perfect color. It is the perfect color. By the way, I am using the Morphe complexion sponge. I will link that information all down below. I'm just pouncing the same side where I use the foundation over the beauty blender, over the contour, blending upward so that I don't want the contour to come any further down where I put that line, so I am pushing it upward. I remember when I first started contouring, I knew where to put the contour product, but it was like when I was blending it out, I'm like, which way am I supposed to blend? You don't want it to go down because you want to lift your cheekbones, so you always want to go up. Generally, anything you put on top of a long-wear foundation is going to just take a little bit longer to blend out, which is also why I recommend going in with a cream contour, or cream bronzer, if you're using a long-wear foundation. I really like to use more quality products on my skin just because I know that it's made with better ingredients that are better for my skin. But when you find something like this, this is what makes me continue looking at drugstore makeup and wanting to try drugstore makeup, because sometimes you just find a gem, and that is a gem at the drugstore. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with 2 layers of powder on both my under eye area and the rest of my face. It gives me a lot of coverage and yet doesn't look too cakey. The first layer of powders are powders that I have used forever. And then, over the years, I want to try new products for you, to try and review new products, but I love these products. The thing I love most about them is how well they set your makeup without looking makeup-y. It doesn't look heavy at all. This is the Laura Mercier Secret Under Eye Brightening Powder, and then this is the MAC Mineralize Skinfinish. And I don't know if it's psychological, but I just feel like my makeup looks better if I have some of this on. This is like a stark white powder. Even though it doesn't leave a white cast, it's just a white powder. And I do like how my makeup looks when I have a yellow powder under my eye. So that's why I'm gonna go in with a yellow powder over this, but I still like using some of this. I don't know. And I think it's because it feels so good on the skin that when this is the first powder, I feel like anything that goes on top of this, even if it's an irritating powder, it's not going to irritate my skin. And the one I'm using on top of this is a highly scented powder. And although when I've used it on its own, it's never broken me out, I like using something that has no fragrance as the top powder, just because I feel my skin's absorbing this powder more than the other powder. Yeah, I know, it sounds crazy, but especially right now, because when I'm pregnant, I am very careful with everything that I put on my skin. As a matter of fact, I don't use any lotion on my skin. I only use oils, like olive oil. That's what I use to moisturize right now. And I don't do my nails. I love doing my nails, but I have not done my nails, my fingernails, or my toenails. Pretty much anything you put on your skin, on your nails, is absorbed into your system. I did the same thing with my last pregnancy, and I had a great pregnancy. So I just kind of followed those same rules that I used in my last pregnancy. No nail polish, not even the clear stuff. And I just keep my nails trimmed so my nails don't look messy. The only products that I use on my skin is really makeup, other than the olive oil. I feel like already as it is, we're bombarded by so many toxins in the air, the food we eat, everything around us. And even though I should really follow these rules, even when I'm not pregnant, obviously being pregnant, I want to be extra careful. And I just want to create a nice, clean environment for my baby to grow. And I do think also with pregnancy, a lot of it is a mind game. And from just being pregnant to having a baby, like the actual labor and delivery part of it as well. And so even if it doesn't make sense, it's just something that I think and I feel great about myself when I know that I don't have anything on me that is getting into my system. So I set my under eye with the Secret Brightening Powder and the MAC Mineralize Skinfinish over my contour. Now I'm going to go in with a more yellow setting powder. This is by Huda Beauty. It is the Easy Bake Loose Baking and Setting Powder, and it's in the color Kunafa. I really love this powder for many reasons. One, I like the color, the coverage, all of that, but the smell of this, Huda should seriously bottle this up and make a perfume out of it. It smells so good. Not only does it smell good, it smells like glamorous. It reminds me of like glamour. For the rest of the face, I'm going to go over with this powder. This is the Mercier Translucent Setting Powder in the color Medium Deep. If you didn't know, the translucent powder that has been very popular for years is now available in 2 more shades, and that's Honey, if you're a bit lighter than me, and then this shade Medium Deep. This is darker than me. I just put it over that contour, and it's got a slight glow to it. So this is the setting powder Glow. They have the regular formula that's just a regular setting powder, and then a glow formula, and it's in the same 3 colors. If I were you, I would have just invested in the Glow because it doesn't have that much of a glow, but does have a subtle sheen, and why would you not want that? Unless you're setting your under eyes with it, which for me, the Mercier Translucent Setting Powder is just too drying. They do have the powders available in the smaller size. A lot of brands are coming out with smaller versions of the products, which is something that I am going to be jumping into because I don't ever really finish any product. So I really like that the brands are coming out with smaller versions. Since I'm doing a bold lip, I'm going to do a simple eye, and I'm going to use the KKW palette. This is what it looks like. I used this in my last 2 videos. Just a great neutral everyday palette. This is the Mrs. West palette. Came out a year or so ago. I never purchased any of the KKW palettes previously because it was mostly like browns and neutrals and nude. And when I look for palettes now, I like to have at least 2 darker colors in the palette because that's what I need to get the color, to get the look that I want. And then this had a dark gray too, which I loved. So this immediately caught my eye. I'm gonna start with Risque, which is the pink. And I'm just gonna put a wash of that over my entire lid. I'm using the Sigma Large Fluff brush. It's the E50, so it picks up the color really nicely. Leaves like a very subtle pink tint. I'm going to take that into the inner corner. Just going to put it all over the lid. Next, I'm going to be using the brown, which is called Exotic. And I'm using this brush by Farah. I really like the shape of this brush. I don't think I've ever tried a brush shape like this before, but I really like this shape brush now. For my eye, this is the Blender Brush 25EL. Because my eyes are rounded, this is like an even better blending brush for my eye shape, as opposed to something like this, which you see it just kind of goes way above the crease, right? So this will stay just right in my crease and a little above. Applying most of that brown, the outer corner, and then bringing it in to the lid. These shadows are buildable, so that means you're not going to get a ton of color right when you put it on. You see it, but it's not really that dark. It's not as dark as it's showing in the pan. But if you keep reapplying it, it will get more darker. Which is why this is a good palette for more of an everyday look, which you can still use like for a night out. Kim Kardashian does have a tutorial using this where she does a similar eye look that she used for her wedding day. So I think that the shadows are meant to be softer and buildable, and that's exactly what they are. So now I'm going in with the same brush, and I'm going to pick up the dark gray, which is called Antique, putting that mostly in the outer corner. I want to make it smoky. And now I'm going to go in with the black, which is called Dark. The brush I'm going to use is the blending brush, the Sigma E25. This works even better than a pencil brush for the outer corner because it deposits the color as well as a pencil brush would. You see that? But it blends it out a lot easier than a pencil brush. And I'm gonna line the lower lash line. The quickest way to do this is to just pack the color onto the brush and stamp it like that. If you use a smaller brush, it'll be more precise. To smoke that out, I'm gonna use a pencil brush and I'm gonna use the brown color to blow it out. And now I'm gonna just line my upper lash line with the NYC Liquid Black Liner. And for false lashes, I'm using a new pair, and those are the Ela lashes by Lilly Lashes. I've already trimmed them, which if you didn't know, you're supposed to trim your lashes, assuming your eyes are smaller than the average woman, which mine's are, and mine's are rounded, so I really need to trim them. I remember when I first started using lashes, I didn't know that I was supposed to trim them. I made a lot of mistakes with applying false lashes, but now that I know how to trim them, they are far easier to put on. So if you find yourself struggling with lashes, it could be that you just haven't trimmed them enough. I'm using Perversion by Urban Decay to line the lower lash line. So before I do blush and highlighter, I'm going to put on my lipstick. Since I'm wearing such a bold color, I like to first see how it's gonna look before I decide on the color of the blush. So for my lips, I'm using a liquid lipstick by Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is in the color Sugar Plum. For blush, I'm going to use the Sephora Spice Market Blush Palette. I'm putting this against my face to see what would be the best color with this look, and I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to be using my Beauty Blender to apply the blush. This blush has a nice shimmer to it, and I find that the shimmer is more evident when I use a damp Beauty Blender. And I'm going to skip highlighter, so I like having the shimmer show up through the blush. Well, and this is actually a really nice way to just highlight. I don't use it alone, but I like to put it like right underneath the eye to just kind of like highlight that eye. And that's it, Beauty Pies. We are done with this look. I really hope you enjoyed this video and this tutorial and this look, and I hope to see you in my next video. Mwah. Bye!